So we're finishing up what we were working on Friday. So we did numbers 1 and 2. So let's go down here to numbers 3 and 4. Are those the last two on that page? Okay. Do we need to go back and review 1 or 2 just to get you back in the swing? Okay, your yes, definitely, and I've got a couple shaking their heads no, but a yes definitely says, yeah, let's go back. Let's just talk about number 2. When you add and subtract fractions, you have to have a common denominator. Yep. And so your first step is you're going to factor every denominator you've got. Will this first denominator here factor? Nope. Minus. Will the second denominator factor? You betcha. And it'll factor into what? Good. X plus 3 times x minus 3. That's called a difference of 2 squares. Good. Now, if you remember to figure out what your common denominator is going to be, you look at the two denominators and you say, what factors do they have in common? What do you see? Okay. So we're going to write that down. Do they have anything else in common? No. So we're just going to write every other factor down. That's going to be my common denominator. We good there? Does this fraction have the common denominator? No. What do I need? I need the x minus 3. So I need x minus 3 here. What does the other fraction need? Nothing. It's already got the common denominator. So now we're going to look. We've got common denominators. So we know that we can write it all over our new denominator. What's this numerator now? Good. X squared minus 3x minus 18. And then the question is self. Am I finished? And we want to see, now that we've added or subtracted them, is there anything else that can be done? Good. I can factor that numerator. How do you factor that numerator? Yep. And the denominator is x minus 3 times x plus 3. And we say, oh, x plus 3's will factor out. So the answer to this is x minus 6 over x minus 3. We good? All right, so let's go to number 3. Oh, question. Can I do this? No, you have broken a bond. That bond is like that, oh, that crazy guy who does the commercials on TV, the flex steel, flex shot, flex. He drives me nuts. He drives me nuts. Ugh. Flex steel, flex shot, flex tape. Yeah. What do you do to me? Nothing. Nothing. Okay, number 3. Here we go. 2x over. Well, that first fraction, that first denominator factor. How? X plus 2 times x plus 2. Yep. Well, that second denominator factor.
Yes. X plus 2, x plus 1.
It's the first thing you look for in your factor. Is there a GCF? What is it? X. Times what? Now you're going to go over to the side somewhere and you're going to start thinking, what's my common denominator? Is there anything common? We've got an x plus 2 common to both lists. Do I have anything else common to both lists? No? No? So now we're going to just write everything else down. I've got an x. Now because that's by itself, that's just x, I'm going to stick it in the front. And then that x That other x plus 2, eh? I sure can. So this is the denominator I need. Is this first fraction missing anything? It's missing the x. So I need to multiply top and bottom by x. Is the one on the second one missing anything? It's missing an x plus 2 because there are two x plus 2's in my common denominator. You okay? All right, now let's see what we got. So, yeah, so what is this? What's 2x times x? That's 2x squared plus, multiply this out. Say again? X squared plus 2x plus 1x is,
X squared plus 8x.
now I've got my common denominator. And Trent said, can I write it like this? And the answer is, you betcha. Sure can. Do you have to? No.
3x squared.
Okay. 3x squared plus 3x plus 2 divided by x times x plus 2 quantity squared. Now I want to see, will that factor, will that new numerator factor? I don't think so. Yeah, I agree. I'm going to go over here. Let's just, you look up here with me. Let's see if, let's mess with it and see if we can make it work. How do we factor 3x squared? Yeah, 3x times 1x. What are our signs going to be? Both plus. Any way I can put 2 and 1 in there to get a plus 3x in the middle? Answer's right here. Guys, this is all there is to adding fractions that don't have a common denominator. You're doing fine. All right, we've got number 4 to do on this page. By the way, the heat has been turned down, but it... Okay, this is a minus. What's the first thing we're going to do to try to subtract these two fractions? Common denominator. So this is x minus 1 over. I heard x minus 3 times x minus 1 from Sarah. Is that right? I think so too. Minus 4 over x minus 3. Now I want to say one thing to you right now that I think will help you. I could rewrite minus as plus a negative, and I think if you do that, that will help you a lot. So what I'm going to do just right here is I'm going to put plus negative 4. All right, what's our common denominator? X minus 3 is what's common to both. So that takes care of this and this. Good. And then an x minus 1. That's right. All I have to do is multiply over here by x minus 1. Now that I've got a common denominator, I'm just going to write down my denominator. So what's my numerator? X minus 1 minus 4x plus 4. Everybody see where that minus 4x plus 4 comes from? Just distributing that negative 4. What have I got here then? negative 3x plus 3 over Am I finished? Oh, okay, there's a GCF in that numerator. Question. Is that numerator in standard form? Yes. What's the leading coefficient? Negative. Factor out a negative 3. Yeah. But if I factor out a negative, what happens to all my signs? They all change. So this is going to be negative 3 times x minus 1. Oh, look at there. Look at there. X minus 3 times x minus 1. Woohoo! X minus 1s will factor out. Answer is negative 3 over x minus 3. How's that? Not too bad? Not too bad? Okay, so where are we going next? Okay. Looks like we've got a number 5 and number 6, right?
Yes.
Let's look at number 5. You see, then we've got some review problems. I don't think we need to do those review problems. So we'll do number 5 and number 6, and then we'll go to the last page. Okay? So number 5. If we're trying to add fractions, what do we have to have? Common denominator. What's the first denominator? Can we factor it? I sure hope so. 3x minus 1 over x plus 3 times x minus 1 plus what's that denominator? Good, because that's called a what? Good, that's a difference of 2 squares. Okay, let's start thinking about our common denominator. Good. I got an x plus 3 that's the same. Good. Nothing else is the same, so I just have to write everything else down. X minus 1 times x minus 3. Okay. That's quite a bit. What's this first fraction need? Good. Now listen. When you multiply that top by x minus 3, you need to put the 3x minus 1 in parentheses because you got to multiply all of that by x minus 3. The second fraction needs x minus 1. Again, put the x plus 4 in parentheses. What do we do to this numerator right here? Boy, you guys are fired up this morning. FOIL it, right? Got to multiply. How do you multiply that out? Do it in your head. 3x squared minus 9x minus 1x is minus 10x plus 3. Now listen, because I've already got my common denominator, I'm just going to go ahead and add x squared. Now, what have I got here? Minus x plus 4x is plus 3x minus 4. Now this is going to look weird. Over x plus 3 times x minus 3 times x minus 1. Combine your like terms. 3x squared plus x squared minus 10x plus 3x minus plus 3 minus 4 minus 1. Now that numerator's not going to factor. There's our answer. There's our answer right there. Okay, we got one more there. You doing okay? Some of you are not doing okay, but okay. Number 6. That first denominator factor. 3x minus 2 over x minus 2 times x minus 2. Okay, now, you see I got a minus. I don't want a minus. I'm going to write plus and negative, but be careful. If I do plus and negative like that, is that right? Because that's right. It's going to have to be this, isn't it? I got to put that negative to every term in there. So it's going to be plus negative x plus 3. Distribute that negative. Now we don't have to worry about that minus anymore. It's gone. Now I've got a plus. Well, that second denominator factor, because it's a good. That's part of it. What have we got common? We've got an x minus 2 common. So I'm going to write that down. Let me see here. I'll just write it down here. I got an x minus 2. Do I have anything else common to both lists? No. So we're just going to write down everything else we see. There's an x minus 2. And there's an x plus 2. Okay. This one needs x plus 2. Just a reminder, why can we multiply by x plus 2 over x plus 2? Because that's 1, isn't it? Isn't anything divided by itself equal to 1? Then I can multiply anything by 1. What does the second fraction need? X minus 2. Good. Okay. Now, that first numerator, well, let me do this. We know what our denominator is now. It's x plus 2 times x minus 2 times x minus 2. Since I got a common denominator, I can put the whole numerator over one denominator. Don't have to have them separate anymore. What's this numerator going to be? What I got to do? Good, I got to distribute. I got to multiply. 3x squared. What's outside? Minus 2x plus 6x. What's minus 2x plus 6x? Plus 4x. Say again? Minus 4. Now we're going over here. What's negative x times x? Negative x squared. Outside. Negative times a negative. So plus 2x plus 3x. What's plus 2x plus 3x? Plus 5x. Last. Do we have any common, any like terms? Yeah, I got several, don't I? 3x squared minus x squared. Good. Plus 4x plus 5x. Yep. Plus 9x. Minus 10. Over x plus 2 times x minus 2. And if you want to write the x minus 2, you can write as that squared. Will that numerator factor? Why don't you don't write anything down, let's do it with me, and if it does, then we'll write it down. Let's just mess with it here. It will or won't? How do you factor 2x squared? Okay. 2x and x. 5 here? 2 here? What are your signs?
Well, they can't both be positive.
Signs are different, so minus 5 plus 2. Does that give me a plus 9 in the middle? No, that don't work. What about plus here and a minus here? That don't work either. What about 10 and 1? What if I use a 10? No, that won't work. What if, will that work? No. Will that work? Done. You got to check. You got to make sure you're finished, okay? Take just a real short break, and then we'll do those last 2 problems. All right, last page.
I wish I got shit.
A complex fraction is a fraction inside another fraction. Now, if you look at those 2 problems on that page, I mean, right? I mean, all you see is you just see a whole bunch of fractions. All right. Remember that you multiply by the reciprocal when you divide by a fraction. Here's what I will promise you. These are not as hard as they look. Yeah, you don't believe me, but I promise they're not as hard as they look. All right, so let's look at this first one. If you read that, that just sounds just like a nightmare. 3 over x minus 1 plus 2 over x divided by 1 over 2x minus 2. Now, again, not as bad as it looks. Now, this is the numerator, right? Now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to add those 2 fractions together. You already know how to do that. Okay. So we're not even going to, we're going to pretend that that 1 over 2x minus 2, we're going to pretend it's not even there. We're just going to pretend we don't even see it. So all we see is what I've got circled in yellow. Now, will either of those 2 denominators factor? No. So, for the part I've got circled in yellow, what is the common denominator? X times x minus 1. Right. What does this fraction need? It needs the x. What does this fraction need? X minus 1. Remember, this 1 over 2x minus 2 doesn't exist. It is like invisible to us. We do not even see it. We do not pay attention to it. All right. Now, what is my denominator? X times x minus 1. Now, what's my numerator? Look where I'm pointing. 3x plus good. So this is 5x minus 2 over x times x minus 1. If that was the whole problem, I'd be done, right? Sadly, it is not, but will that denominator factor? Yes. Now, good. So, this is 1 over 2 times x minus 1. That's it, right? No, that's it. There's nothing else I can do because I only have one fraction. So I'm just going to write that down over here. Now you say, that still looks ugly. Yeah, but you just wait just a minute. Say again? Not yet. Not yet. Now, if I have 1/3 divided by 1/4, that is the same as saying 1/3 divided by 1/4. So what are you going to do? How do you divide by a fraction? Well, aha! You multiply by the reciprocal of which one? The 1/3 or the 1/4? The 1/4, the one that's behind the division, or the one that's below the division. So this one, I'm going to go green. This one is 5x minus 2 over x times x minus 1 times what? What's the reciprocal of this sucker right here? Yeah, 2 times x minus 1 over 1. Now I can do what you wanted to do. Now remember, now we're going back to multiply. We're multiplying, and we can factor out common factors because we're multiplying. Aha! Right. Yeah, you better be just kidding. Do I have any other factors that are common that will factor out? Not a darn one. So my answer is, now, you got 5x minus 2 times 2. Here's the way I would suggest you write it. 2 times 5x minus 2. If you want to distribute the 2, you can. You don't have to. Over x. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you do a complex fraction. Okay, I at least see a smile. For at least somebody's got something to smile about. Maybe not this, but at least somebody's smiling. Well, one more problem. Let's go. One more problem. Hey, we'll get this finished and give you a nice chunk of time to work on assignments. Now, I'm going to ask you a question, but don't you dare write anything down. Can I do this? Why? Because they're added. Because they're added. Listen, I could only do that if I could do this. Is 1/2 plus 2? Can I do that? No, that's dumb. So you can't do it over there either. All right. either one of those denominators factor? No. What is my common denominator? 4 times x, right, 4 times x. What does this 2 over x need if my common denominator is 4x? That needs a 4. What does this one need? So that thing that's circled in yellow, what does it need? What does it equal now? X squared plus 8. I like that you wrote it in standard form. Over 4x. Let me go back to that orange. I rather liked that orange. Will that denominator, will the denominator of what I've got circled in orange factor? No. That won't do a darn thing, will it? Oh, but dividing by a fraction, multiply by the reciprocal. Since there's nothing I can do to this fraction that's circled in orange, there's nothing that'll factor. So there's nothing I can do to it. So let's just multiply by the reciprocal. What's the reciprocal? Do I have any common factors that I could factor out? Can I factor out these x's? Yes, because they're multiplied. I can factor out those x's.
Okay, so I just tried to x out the x and threw the x on top of the x. So like, there's an x, right? I tried to x it out. And then I just made the x larger.
So what am I left with? This numerator is x squared plus 8, 4. And you can write 4x plus 4 if you want, or you can write 4 times x plus 1. So you take them separately, the yellow part and then the orange part. Just do them separately, okay? Little yeller. All right, now listen to me. You have learned everything there is to learn about adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing rational expressions. You learned it all. So you're ready to quit. Well,